This is called a biblical series, Exodus episode 1, Faith is an Adventure, and I'm a little interested. I'm curious about what Jordan Peterson is going to have to say. I'm curious what all of them are going to say about it. It's been my experience with a lot of people, especially in the philosophy field, that they're a philosopher first and a reader of the Hebrew scriptures and even New Testament scripture second. But what struck me is that very few of those who have got degrees in philosophy are very good at thinking biblically. They're good at thinking philosophically, but you're coming from a completely different perspective from that. And I remember I had Christians who would sometimes we would come across an area where we didn't agree in the Hebrew scriptures. And the discussion was usually along the lines of a philosophical defense of their understanding of the scriptures versus a biblical defense of the scriptures, for whatever their view was when we disagreed. It's very different from a perspective where we're looking at what do the Hebrew scriptures say, what do they mean in of themselves. I would say that if they really want to understand Exodus, the first thing they have to do is they have to leave behind their clinical psychology, they have to leave behind their philosophy, their academic understandings of religion, and anything that is exterior to the text. I just worry what it's going to be is a mess where we all bring in our expertise from other fields instead of trying to just understand the text itself. So let's get started.
Excellent. So one of the things that's really fascinated me about Exodus, apart from the fundamental structure of the narrative, which is escape from tyranny, sojourn through the desert, and then reemergence, hypothetically, into the promised land. It's a very classic narrative structure, descent and reascent, is the fact that, is the manner in which God is represented as the primary spirit in the text. And so I've been toying with this idea that part of what the Bible is doing is describing a priority, a manner in which perceptions and actions might be prioritized. And a structure of priority is a pyramidal structure, and something has to be at the top. And I learned from Carl Jung that whatever is at the top of your hierarchy of assumptions functions as God for you, whether or not you're religious. And
we've got a little abstract already. We haven't even gotten to the text itself, and we're already talking about and giving an interpretation of the text. I think that it's better that if you're going to put out there a framework of some sort, that framework should always be biblical, not something not 21st century, psychology. What does the Torah say? What does the Torah say about itself? That's the better way to go about learning the Torah. It's not about, this is my idea. Let's hear what the text says first before we start piling all this stuff on top of it.
All right, so having said that and introduced everybody, we're going to start with the text, and as I said, I'll read it and I'll make comments when they strike me, and we'll have everyone jump in and away we'll go. So Exodus 1. Now, these are the names of the children of Israel, which came into Egypt. Every man and his household came with Jacob. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin. Dan and Naphtali, Gad and Asher. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already. And Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all that generation. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. So Jacob and the Israelites are presented as sojourners in.
First thing that you need to think about when looking at this is, why does Exodus start off with these? These are the names of the children of Israel. Why do we start off with this? And you look at the very beginning, and there is a letter Vav, Ve'ele, which the Vav means and. And very often or usually the Vav connects to what happened before. So we're in Exodus 1:1, but this is actually connecting us back to the end of Genesis. And so this is part of whatever was being discussed at the end of Genesis. And this was at the end of Genesis. It really does end with Joseph is the prime minister of Egypt, and now they're having to set a stage here in Exodus 1:1 where they're transitioning, and they're transitioning away from the good relationship that Israel had with Egypt. And we're going to find out that things have not gone so well. This is a good sequel to a story, right? A lot of movies, they'll start off and the person has an amazing adventure. You're like, oh, that guy has learned so much, right? And you go, why even bother doing a second movie? They do a second movie. What happens? Terrible things have happened since the last movie. All that hope you had at the end of the last movie, it is gone. Here's what's really happened. There is this connection with the children of Israel back to the end of Genesis, and these are the names of the children of Israel. Now there's a reason that we want to talk about, and these are the names of the children of Israel. One of those things is that there was some doubt at the end of Genesis. What role do the brothers end up playing? With Abraham and Isaac, they both had the same problem. Their problem was they had, a good son and a bad son. So there was Isaac and there was Ishmael. Isaac is chosen to receive the promise. Isaac had two sons, Jacob and Esau. Jacob was the good son, Esau was the bad son. Jacob was chosen to inherit the promises of God. And what did this promise include? It included, among other things, the promise God made to Jacob that he would send his descendants into a land that they didn't know, and that he'd bring them back out again after 400 years. And so now we're starting on to the story where God fulfills that promise he made back there. And the other thing, getting back to the sons, is the question is, given how the 10 of the tribes treated Joseph, is Joseph and Benjamin, are they the good sons, and the other 10, are they the bad sons? And so part of the reason you want this introduction here is because Va'elu Shemot B'nai Yisrael, right? And these are the names of the children of Israel. And if you go down, Reuben, Shimeon, Levi, Yehuda, you start giving a list, and it lists everybody. All of these people are the sons of Jacob. They're all good sons. At the end of the day, what Exodus starts off with is all of the sons of Jacob are good sons. So I think that's the first thing. Before we get too deep into this, I think the first thing we need to point out is that why in the world would you want to start off in Exodus the way you did?